Hi, my name's Tim Cruz, and I'm the District Attorney here in Plymouth County. Thank you for your interest in the issue of human trafficking. Human trafficking is real, and it's happening right here in Plymouth County. That's why we created a human trafficking task force. We've gathered together partners from local, state, and federal law enforcement, victim services, and allied agencies. The overall mission of the task force is to combat human trafficking through multidisciplinary collaboration and coordination, community education and outreach, comprehensive victim services, and holding those who traffic people accountable. Our task force has many goals and objectives, but one of the most important and one of the main reasons we created this video is to offer education and training so that in your important profession, you're able to go out and identify human trafficking victims and get them the help that they so desperately need. Our office, this Human Trafficking Task Force, remain dedicated to bolstering our efforts to investigate and prosecute all forms of human trafficking and to streamline vital services to victims. Those efforts include raising awareness and educating our community on what human trafficking is, what it looks like here in our own county, and how we can all play a role in creating change and helping to stop it. Thank you for doing your part to work alongside us.
Human trafficking has gained attention recently in our news, on social media, and in the entertainment industry through movies and music. Yet often the examples or stories make it still seem so far away from us and our communities. The truth is, it's not. Human trafficking is happening in many forms in our state, right in our own cities and towns, yet most of the time it is still unidentified and misunderstood. If we learn about the impact trafficking has on our community, we often realize that we have interacted with individuals who may have experienced human trafficking. In 2020, the National Human Trafficking Hotline received 232 phone calls, texts, emails, or online tip reports from Massachusetts. That number represents only the cases that were called into the hotline and not the cases that each individual service agency responded to across the state. In 2021, the Children's Advocacy Centers for Cape Cod and the Islands, Bristol County, and Plymouth County held response meetings and coordinated support services for 300 child victims of human trafficking. In nearly 90% of these cases, there was an online element related to the exploitation, meaning the exploitation took place online, or there was a specific communication, planning, or exchange which took place online. Further, in Plymouth County alone from January to June of 2022, the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office Children's Advocacy Center responded to and provided services for 83 new and 43 continuing referrals for concerns of trafficking. Recruitment into human trafficking is happening to our community's youth and adults of all different ages, socioeconomic status, education levels, gender identities, sexual orientation, and nationalities. It is happening to students, clients, or other individuals that you may work with. Everyone has individual vulnerabilities which can be increased by external factors and are often used by traffickers to exploit a person's situation.
Human trafficking can affect anyone, but especially more vulnerable groups, such as the LGBTQ+ community, those experiencing homelessness or housing instability, people exposed to and experiencing substance use disorder, and our youth in our communities. Individuals seeking opportunities in life, a job, love, shelter, or community to belong to are also at a higher risk of being deceived and recruited by traffickers. In our state, individuals working in high-risk labor sectors may also be more vulnerable to experiencing exploitation and trafficking. In Plymouth County, specifically workers within landscaping, construction, agriculture, restaurants, hotel services, cleaning and janitorial services, and healthcare supported related services are at most risk for exploitation practices and a potential to experiencing labor trafficking. Traffickers prey upon and profit from their victims' vulnerabilities. Human trafficking occurs when a trafficker compels an individual to provide commercial sexual acts, labors, or services. Human trafficking can present in many different forms, and a person may experience more than one type of exploitation or trafficking. Traditionally, when people think about sex trafficking, some think of this issue as just another form of prostitution, but it's not. It is abuse. For minors under the age of 18, commercial sexual exploitation of children is defined as child abuse in the Massachusetts state law. Oftentimes, victims have been groomed by their traffickers who have carefully and methodically worked to gain their victim's trust, creating a degree of dependence and subtly promoting the idea that selling sexual services is normal, acceptable, and even necessary. Traffickers use social media to find, recruit, and control their victims. Some other forms of control include physical violence, denial of basic needs such as food or medical care, promises of love or material things that their victims want or even need, promises of citizenship or travel documents, or even a salary that never materializes that they receive. Traffickers may also use isolation, psychological manipulation, or other grooming or punishment tactics, such as threatening their victims and their family, threats of arrest or deportation, or even withholding substance uses to maintain their control of their victims. We may have crossed paths with victims of human trafficking in our communities, but we haven't been able to identify them or recognize them oftentimes.
Most of the time, victims can't identify themselves as victims, and neither do first-line professionals who may have a critical interaction with the victims while they're being trafficked. Sometimes school counselors, teachers, community leaders, healthcare providers, and other first responders miss an excellent opportunity to help victims because of the lack of training on red flags and what to do when finding a trafficking situation. Knowing the problem and identifying those red flags are one of the first steps to finding a solution. We must be aware that every day, potential victims are being recruited online, at bus stations and stops, shopping malls and public spaces, schools, universities, shelters, group homes, and detox centers. Traffickers have increased using social media, video games, messaging apps, and other online sites for recruitment, selling, and buying. This trend especially puts our children in danger. The Office of Trafficking in Persons published an article in July 2022 that stated the National Human Trafficking Hotline identified a 22% increase in online recruitment into trafficking schemes in 2020 and reported the internet as the top recruitment location for all forms of trafficking. Public health measures implemented in response to the COVID-19 pandemic made it more difficult for traffickers to recruit from the traditional physical locations, so traffickers increasingly turned to the internet. Human traffickers shifted strategies to online recruitment, resulting in the internet being reported as the top recruitment location for all forms of trafficking. In 2020, there was a 125% increase in reports of recruitment on Facebook and a 95% increase on Instagram compared to the previous year. Other online platforms recruiting for both labor and sex trafficking included dating sites, chat rooms, and mobile apps. In 2021, in southeastern Massachusetts, apps like Snapchat, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, Discord, Chat Roulette, and WhatsApp are being used to exploit and harm our kids. These are just a few of many apps predators could use to exploit children. Our children and youth are just one click from being in a very dangerous situation if we don't maintain open lines of communication and learn about the things that are happening to our youth.
It is our responsibility to stop this crime and help victims in our communities. We all play a role in this fight, and we all need each other. If you are within the school system, there are a few things to keep in mind. We need to look for signs of trafficking in both children and their parents or guardians. Both youth experiencing exploitation and parents who are experiencing sexual or labor trafficking may be a part of our school communities. A child can still be experiencing trafficking and attend school regularly. They may or may not miss school, but time in school may be the only time away from their exploitation. It only takes minutes for exploitation acts to occur. There may be some basic needs like food, shelter, and clothing that are not met when youth or their parents or guardians are experiencing exploitation or trafficking. They may have experienced multiple victimizations just prior to entering the school doors, or have someone waiting for them right after school. Children may be vulnerable to trafficking if they have access to unmonitored online communications, go missing from care, have someone in their home that is experiencing substance use disorder, have friends that are experiencing trafficking, or receiving goods in exchange for sexual acts, either in person or online, have housing or food instability. A child might have expensive items without the obvious means to purchase them. Items like vape, beauty items, hair extensions, new clothing, or other items of value, for example. At-risk youth might also host hotel or rental house parties that were paid for by an adult. Remember, as a mandated reporter, you are required under Massachusetts law to file a 51A report with the Department of Children and Families for concerns or suspicion of a youth is experiencing trafficking. Caretaker status of the alleged perpetrator and name of a known alleged perpetrator is not required to file a report for concerns of trafficking.
If you are in law enforcement, remember that you play a key role in the fight against trafficking. Please remember, the victim may not be able to self-identify as currently experiencing human trafficking, so language is important. Mirror the language they are using when appropriate. Lots of trafficking cases when individually come in through a police response may appear that they are not connected to other things. Oftentimes, trafficking is disguised by other criminal activity, such as drug addiction or domestic violence. Victim-centered investigations have incredible power to shape the public's understanding of trafficking, increase victims' cooperation throughout the investigation and prosecution. It helps to secure conviction of traffickers while connecting victims with services and local resources. Collaboration with other departments and agencies is key while building a trafficking investigation. It helps to disrupt and dismantle recruitment and trafficking of both independent, small operations and larger networks. If you are an EMS healthcare provider and staff, remember that trafficked victims may enter the healthcare system while experiencing exploitation. You might be one of a few people who can provide for a short period a safe place and an environment for the victims out of reach of their exploiters. The person may meet you because of a domestic violence call, work or home-related injuries, and other medical needs. They may not identify currently that their situation is trafficking. Your job can have a positive impact beyond the healthcare system. Medical personnel can document injuries and other sensitive information that may help in the future with an investigation and have legal consequences. For example, testifying as an expert witness. There is also a human trafficking ICD-10 code for hospitals. A trafficker may accompany a victim to the hospital in person or maintain contact via electronics and may try to encourage to check them out prematurely and against medical advice. Other healthcare EMS staff and people working in the hospital can also be victims of human trafficking. For example, sometimes hospitals hire third-party contractors to clean their facilities. The lack of transparency and accountability from these third-party contractors opens the possibility of having people being labor exploited. That's why it's crucial to create protocols at all levels within the healthcare system, including best practices while hiring third-party contractors. Studies and testimonies have shown that trafficked victims talk and interact more with medical staff than with other professionals like law enforcement. Frequent disclosure doesn't happen immediately, but still, EMS and healthcare staff can serve as a bridge between trafficked patients and community resources and services.
Collaboration between agencies and organizations is crucial to prevent and stop this problem. Awareness and advanced training for our community members, such as first responders, school professionals, and service providers is equally as necessary in our fight against trafficking. Now that you know all of this, it's time to do something and be a part of the solution that will prevent sex and labor trafficking in our community. Remember, we all have an essential role, and together we can be the change in our community. Join our county's efforts. Our children are counting on us to make a difference. To learn more about your role in responding to human trafficking, or for more information about tailored training opportunities for your profession, please contact us at plymouthda.humantrafficking@mass.gov.